guys, it's been a while. Rough time. Allergy season is never good to me. So today I want to talk about a project which appeared in a lot of my videos. I haven't actually talked about it at any length, more or less. So if you notice, this is a mini split that sits on the back of my motorhome. It's working, but it is very, very fickle. So I'm gonna get to the fickle part eventually, but right now I just wanted to kind of talk about it, right? So this is inspired by Dave Gunn, Boondocking, who's inspired a whole bunch of people over the years. So thank you, sir, for that. Can't Prevent Kevin installed one on multiple of his rigs, and a whole bunch of schoolies install them, yada yada yada, and they all make it seem like it's like boom, bam, thank you, ma'am, and done. No, that's not how it works. There's a lot of challenges installing those things. So one of the biggest ones is the one you don't actually think about. It's not the hookup, it's not the setup, it's not the mounting, although that's also a thing. It's the routing. Right, so the optimal place is to obviously mount this somewhere on the back, like a lot of people are, on a bumper, for example, and then people put the inside unit on the other side of this glass, right? And the problem here is that majority of Class C's and Class A's have a bed in there. How inconvenient is that, right? And especially if you have a window, there's just physically no way without sacrificing cabinetry, which is what a lot of people have done, to install it there. Now, space is a premium in RV in the first place. I did not want to sacrifice even more. Had to go the weird route. Had to get extensions for the hoses. Had to get a professional to come out here and set this up. I'm glad that I did. I would highly advise for you to actually do that. Unless you install ACs and unless your install is very, very simple, get a professional to come out and do the job right. So what I've done was I've extended it. I also had the guy, let me see if I get this right. So it's not soldering, I'm guessing it's solder flux that they use. So I'll share that in a minute. And as you notice, I have a line that goes all the way around, right? So why is that important? Well, it's mounted in a place where it's not taking away space while simultaneously serving a purpose. So this is a Pioneer 12,000 BTU. Had to sacrifice my rear door over here for it. Has a bunch of hoses coming out. I wrapped everything in the typical Home Depot Lowe's wrapping for the bajillion zip ties, and then I routed get covers. They're cheap enough for you to, so I actually bought 2 kits. I needed to use about 1.5. But anyways, so the lines, and you could kind of sort of see some of it, like right there. Okay, I got the flexible hoses, following advice from a few YouTubers who've had them rattle out. Okay, not like there, but out here. So the back of your motorhome keeps jumping, and the last thing you want is to go through that process, right? So in my case, they're soldered here and there and connected from here to there using this flexible propane line or gas or whatever is that Freon stuff, right? So, and it goes all the way probably up to like there-ish or so, and then it goes all the way through the channel, around the corner, etc. I've naturally, this is adhered to the motorhome. I also used VHP tape, also used L channels, so those are 2-inch L channels, and I used them on both sides, as you see. And they're basically everywhere, so they're there for support, additional support. Alright, so all of that goes all the way up on top, turns the corner, and then right about here is where it comes out. So this is the exit hole for the air conditioning unit, and then it goes right through there. Whoops. Well, you know what I'm saying. Right inside. Right. So I waterproofed everything as much as I can. I also took silicone and put it on top of everything, so that even if it rains, there's also the putty, and so I spared no expense with that. So the way this sits is on Amazon. You could get yourself these. Okay. The thing that you need to look for, I'm talking about that, right? And as you see, it's mounted to the bumper using 4-inch, typical connections and everything like that. Hardware to mount this to that does not come with either this or that, so that's something you're gonna have to buy separately. This over here, I forgot the exact cost, but whatever it costs, it's worth every single penny. It's a product, all you gotta do is just type in the following keywords into Amazon: mini split, RV 4-inch bumper, and it will show. It's like the only product. So let me take you inside and show you what it looks like on the inside. By the way, those of you that follow me because of the Jeep project, okay, whatever. Still waiting for the camper shell, but the latest ETA that I got was apparently 19th. So I'm recording this on 15th. I'll cover that. Alright, so this is where it's mounted on the inside. Now, the buzzing that you hear is my generator. I'm gonna explain you why in just a little bit. But I'm gonna shut up for a second. This thing is whisper quiet, like I kid you not. If generator wasn't running and I walked like here, I wouldn't be able to hear it. So here's the problem. I don't have a 30 amp connection here at my house. I just wired a typical 120 volt. I added the 3-prong RV thing, just enough to keep my fridge going and whatnot. At one point I meant to put a 30 amp connector, 30 amp breaker and all that stuff, but I just never got around to it, and it hasn't been that big of a bother. So here's the problem. This is wired into the 120 volt circuitry of the motorhome. The actual wiring for this comes from the outside, underneath the bed, underneath the storage compartment that's over there, underneath this mattress there-ish, right? And it's wired to this outlet right there. Okay, spliced into the wiring for the outlet. Okay, well, great, no problem, right? This thing doesn't pull a lot of amps, as you might imagine. That's the reason why people get mini splits. Well, there's a caveat. Despite the fact that this is a slow start and bare minimum amperage draw and everything like that, if you are connected to a house through a typical 15 amp outlet that has GFCI, that sucker will trip after 5 minutes. It will run without operating the unit outside, right? And then this will run and blow, but no cold air will come out, but just the warm air or whatever is the ambient temperature. And then 5 minutes later, the GFCI pops. It is the weirdest thing ever, right? So naturally, the reason why I have this is so that I could run it either on generator, well, which is kind of stupid because if you run a generator, you might as well run that. So why get this? Well, I got it so that I could run it off solar. So I have 1500 watt solar setup. A lot of you have been following me in that process. I have 300 amp lithium batteries. Oops. Right there. Okay, all of this. Recently had to replace my Renogy inverter out of abundance of caution. After having that horrible experience with DC to DC charger, I decided to take no chances. The Renogy inverter works. I just decided to pull it from here and reuse it for something else. I went to Harbor Freight. I got 5,000 watt inverter. I'm not gonna be pulling that much, but I just want, if it breaks, if there's any shenanigans, I could always just go to another Harbor Freight and just go and get me another one. Everybody's making noise today. My neighbors. Who knows? So that's kind of it, right? So it runs off solar like a champ. It constantly, this is the weird thing, it would pop Renogy inverter randomly. So the inverter would stay on, but it just went like bloop, and it just disconnects everything. And then like right over here, I used to have a switch, so I would like flip it, and then it just magically works again, and then it would work in perpetuity. So I didn't want to risk this. I wanted to have an opportunity where it just works. So naturally, when I switched to Harbor Freight brand inverter, this is not pure sine like my Renogy is. This is modified sine, and it works beautifully. Nothing is humming, nothing is just like, it's running like a champ, right? So same thing with this, right? It's running off that Harbor Freight inverter and all that stuff. As you hear, it's also running on the generator. Great, wonderful. Yeah, I just noticed something. My neighbor's lawnmower is on the same audible frequency as my generator. So I don't know if you've noticed, but the generator is barely audible now. In any event, so that all works. Is the project worth it? Okay. No. I know a lot of people do it. It's worth it if you want peace and quiet. Okay? Like you're out there in the sticks all by yourself, minding your beeswax. In any other type thing, there's always going to be somebody parked next to you running their generator, which defies the reason why you had solar and a mini split and the whole 9 yards. So if you don't want the hustle and the whatever, okay, go to Harbor Freight, get yourself a generator, the most quietest one that you could buy for like $500 or $600, and just run that. You don't have to fidget with anything at all, don't have to install. So I've done majority of the install myself, which saved me a tremendous amount of money. So naturally I had to punch a 3-inch hole over here so that we could run all the piping out. I also mounted a plate on the back of this, so that we could mount this on the actual plate, and then it just kind of pops in there. The pipes and everything come out there. I had to extend the power lines simply because the distance all around is obviously far greater, so I had to get proper gauge wiring. So that was an additional expense. So I bought this for like $1,200, and then I added another probably $500 to $600 in hiring labor plus bits and parts to get the rest of that. So that's the reason why I said it's really not worth it per se. But the blessing of being able to just peace. If it wasn't for my GFCI outlet, I'd be able to not run my generator right now and actually I don't know. It's like it's a catch-22. You know, it's a trendy thing to do. I didn't do it because it's trendy. I did it because I needed it. Those of you that have followed me on my adventures through Utah and Colorado know that I actually brought a portable AC unit that was actually mounted right here. Appeared in a lot of my videos, and it was sticking out the window. But it was drawing amperage like a madman every single time, you know. So I had like a fish timer. That's right, a fish timer. Heard that right. Turn it on and off and on. So it was like basically cycling by itself, which would allow the panels to regenerate enough power, so it would keep the balance. And if you left it long enough, it would actually drain the batteries eventually. So what I would do is I would actually crank my generator, turn this on, turn that on, just to keep up with Utah heat, because it was brutal. So being able to do this off my solar is going to be so much better. It's really like a domino effect. You never stop tinkering with this. Like I could see myself adding another battleboard battery to my setup. Right now I have 300. 400 would be better. But then you also have to think about it. If you start spending all this extra, can you really regenerate it, right? So 1500 watts, okay, great, wonderful. But what about the amount of sun? So like in my trips to, you know, Colorado and Utah, there was an issue with smoke in the air, issue with dust in the air, clouds and everything like that. So my rig is built on regeneration rather than consumption. So I'm always playing this careful dance. 300 I think is a wonderful number, because when I went out west, I had 400 amp hours of a gel hybrid, which is basically 200 amps usable. This lithium battleboard battery setup, I actually have 300 usable, which is 100 amp increase, and I added another 500 watts of solar. So just a couple of bits and notes. If you let this run, which it's running, right, the best place to mount this obviously would be here, so that it would blow there. So if you're like considering buying a motorhome and you don't have a bed there, and you have an empty wall, sort of like this wall there, consider yourself lucky. I didn't feel comfortable sacrificing the storage, and I didn't feel comfortable storing it lower because I didn't want it to fall on my head when I'm sleeping. So the only way I could fit it was here. And so it's blowing air through here. There's a very big difference in terms of temperature. However, if you let it run long enough, it will actually cool everything, like in due time. As I'm walking progressively, like I had this run for as long as I've been recording this video, which is almost 20 minutes. So you could very gently feel the breeze right here at the front of the rig, and that's on lowest setting. So if I crank this up, it would actually chill everything. Like it will keep this, you could, you know, it will kick out ice cubes. So that's the benefit of mini split AC. Those of you that are like on the fence, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Yes, it's worth it, but it's not worth the hassle. If you have the capacity to use a generator instead of going through all this brouhaha, use a generator. It's going to be so much cheaper. Figure out where to mount it and just run it. Like, I'm not talking about onboard generator on motorhomes. I'm talking about just like your regular Harbor Freight generator. So, oh, look at that. You can see, I don't know if camera is picking this up. You can see how it's draining. That's actually another thing that you have to concern yourself. Your rig has to be level. So I made it absolutely sure that my hole is coming out here, because in the instructions they actually recommend putting a hole there and having that tube go bloop. No, my tube comes out from here directly outside right there. I didn't want to take no chances. I heard people's rigs flood because of this, because it was like off whatever. I wanted out, and that's actually what it's doing. So the hole is here, all the pipes and everything are there. So the pipes are actually coming from here, or I take that back. Everything is here, and then it goes there, and then there's like a 90-degree turn, a 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn, and then boom. So just wanted to share some thoughts about this whole process. It's been a fun little project. It took me, I'm thinking 3 months of just eventually getting to it. The bumper mount is a godsend. I think it's between 80 to 120 bucks, and it's worth every penny. So if you're gonna do what I did, go to Amazon, type in the keywords 4-inch bumper mini split AC mount, and it's the only one that pops up. I forgot what the company's called. Obviously make sure that your system is capable of handling, you know, this before actually invested all this money and whatnot. And so that's kind of it. It is fickle, electricity wise. When it starts, it draws for however small percentage of time, and that's when it trips my GFCI. So if you have anything GFCI-ish, that's gonna be a big pain in the keister. So if you have a sensitive inverter like my Renogy was, that's gonna be a problem. So, but I ran this successfully on the on Harbor Freight inverter, so that works beautiful. All right, well, hope this insight helps. Till next time.